All right, everyone can hear me. So, obviously, it's pretty windy outside. But, yeah. So the topic for today is arguing, debating. In particular, the question posed to me is it possible to win an argument with a woman? Bear with me for a second. We're going to start a little bit quicker than last time. By the way, I think this is the first live stream I've done out in public. Hopefully it's fun. We'll see. I'm fading in and out on the video. All right, hopefully y'all can hear me. Hold on a second. So, the question I'm posing today is it possible to argue with an emotional person? And by the way, in terms of the actual answer, I guess it's up to the person. What do y'all think? I'm kind of in line to say no. No, it's not. So I'll explain my reasoning for why I don't think it's there's going to be wind. Y'all are going to have to deal with the wind. So the reason why I think it's impossible to argue or debate with, for the purposes of this channel, a woman. Um, so we're going to break this down a lot. So I'm going to do a share screen in a second. All right, hold on the share screen. Hold on. All right, so this is just a precursor here. So we got this. Looks like a good source. So left hemisphere, sensory stimulus from right side of body, motor control of right side of body, speech, language comprehension, analysis and calculations, time and sequencing, recognition of words, letters and numbers. So time and sequencing, understanding where things go and the time. Time would be, I guess, oriented towards, well, that sounds, I don't know if that sounds sequential. Analysis and calculations. So thinking, logic, being logic. Sensory, so right hemisphere. Sensory stimulus from left side of body. Motor control of left side of body. Creativity, spatial ability. That's a good thing. Very important. Context, perception, recognition of faces, places, and objects. That's a big thing. So I tend to say women are very right hemisphere dominant. So recognition of faces, places, and objects, that being a right hemisphere dominant modality, that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to go a little bit further with this. So this one's from, I don't know. All right, so brain lateralization, left and right, analytical thought, detail-oriented perception, ordered sequencing, rational thought, verbal, cautious planning, math, science, logic, right field vision, right side, motor skills, intuitive thought. All right, so that's for the left. So for the left, thinking, verbal, cautious planning, math, science, logic, right field vision, right side, motor skills. So the thing to keep in mind is, give me a second. All right. The thing to keep in mind is, all right. Men, men are left hemisphere dominant. There's a likely chance that men are left hemisphere dominant. The average man is left hemisphere dominant, and then the average woman is likely right hemisphere dominant. So when you look at the themes for left hemisphere dominant people, it would probably fall under analytical thought, detail oriented, perception, order sequencing, rational thought, verbal, cautious planning, math and science, logic. So for the right side, so a woman, again, right hemisphere dominant, you have intuitive thought, holistic perception. Holistic perception means they would take everything into account. So if you try to focus on one particular thing, well, I'll get back to that actually. Random sequencing, emotional thought, nonverbal, adventurous, impulsive, creative writing, imagination, um, left field vision, left side motor skills. Okay, so all right, so by the way, so with intuitive thought, that means they think their way through feeling, is how I understand that. With holistic perception, where this comes into play with debates and arguments and stuff like that, in my opinion, is that uh, a person who has holistic perception, holistic meaning like they take into account everything. So the difficulty with that kind of person would be that they it would be difficult to focus on one thing. It'd be difficult to focus on one thing without the person getting angry about you focusing on one thing because they're holistic thinkers. Holistic thinkers, right brain thinking versus left brain thinking. So if you're trying to focus on one particular area, one particular subject, so that might demonstrate that you are capable of ordered sequencing, which I'm assuming is something that would be associated with focusing on one particular pattern or one particular structure at a time. So the male mind, uh, way we think, we try to focus on one thing at a time. A holistic thinker would look at the way we think of things and would find fault with it because we're not thinking holistically. So, so the difficult couple that in with their creativity, and it says adventurous, but it can say novelty. People who are right hemisphere dominant, or just even the right hemisphere side of the brain, that's where a person kind of seeks novelty. But if someone's right hemisphere dominant, then the issue with debating a person who's like that is that they're not going after the same things as you. You're trying to find likely ordered sequencing, detail oriented perception, analytical thought, planning. You're being cautious, math, science, logic. So you're, and this is just my opinion. So holistic perception, the difficulty with people who are holistic thinkers is whenever you focus on one thing, um, they tend to think that that one thing that you now this is kind of the generalization versus exceptions kind of situation. So the issue is not a lot of people know this, but males and females actually use different types of thinking. So you have inductive reasoning and you have deductive reasoning. So that's another thing I'm going to show. Here we go. So with inductive reasoning, someone would use inductive reasoning, makes specific observations, and then draws general conclusions. Deductive reasoning, specific conclusion follows a general theory. Specific conclusion follows a general theory. So pretty much smaller ideas trickle down. So I'm going to use a different one to verify that. It can get confusing. So the deductive approach, which I believe is a scientific approach when using a theory, hypothesis, observation, and a test. So that is the male way of thinking. The male way of processing information is deductive. Now, inductive thinking is actually the female way of thinking. When I say it's the male or female way of thinking, that means that um, that means that this is the general way that our brains are wired to think. This is good. I started pretty early. I'm gonna keep going. It's not a bad day outside. All right, so I see. So I see deductive, it says information, pattern, tentative, hypothesis, theory. Inductive says theory, hypothesis, observation, confirmation. I'm trying to see where it starts from. It's kind of confusing. Here we go. Inductive reasoning starts from an observation. Deductive starts from an experiment. Predictions theory. That's confusing. It's actually confusing me now. The strength of deductive reasoning is that conclusions derived with it are fully certain. The weakness, which was illustrated in the most recent example, is that no new information is added. The fact that the penny in my pocket is a copper disc with Lincoln on it was clear from the initial data, so the conclusion hasn't added any new information. So anyway, so from the looks of it, it seems deductive reasoning takes away novelty, takes away from being able to discover new phenomena. All right, I'm going to move on from that for now. But this brain lateralization thing is really important for the can you argue with a woman conversation. Ooh, I'm going to take my face off for a second. All right, so hopefully we can make some headway. The next thing in question about arguing with a woman. So these are kind of just my thoughts off the top, and then I'll go to a couple of videos. A couple of things that I've noticed. One of the biggest things is that whenever you use a generalization, it tends to cause an issue for the woman because the generalization doesn't take into account new information. So I guess that's the consequence of being a deductive reasoner versus an inductive reasoner. So the inductive reasoners would actually not, they would kind of, it would probably have some frustration with people who use deductive reasoning. So the typical male way of processing, unless I'm flipping it on accident, I don't even realize it. The typical male way of processing information, whenever it's brought into the realization of an argument or a debate, the reason it causes issues is because of that dynamic. Now, the other aspect to why I think as to why debating or arguing with a woman or an emotional person is, the other issue is, and this is a big one. So I wanted to get into ad hominems. You know, they call them ad hominem attacks. Attacking a person's character, kind of a character sabotage, a very feminine way of dealing with an individual, regardless of whether you're a male or female. So, anyways, so with the I'm still sharing the screen. I'm not trying to share the screen right now. So, anyways, ad hominems. This is one of the biggest parts, and I had a conversation with a guy. Shout out to Red Pill Mike. He kind of summed up a lot of the conversation I had a couple of days ago. I was talking with a friend and his wife. Caught wind of the conversation, and we were talking about gender dynamics and women and men, and how we process things. And she didn't like some of the opinions I brought up. And one of the things I noticed was that the opinions I brought up were harsh opinions, and you typically don't hear them said out in public. Regardless of that, what was interesting is that even though the opinions are harsh, what I noticed, the first thing the woman went to in terms of my argument conversation, well, it was several different techniques. So there was one where it was just kind of this complete rejection of the information, and that could play out in oh, that's just completely absurd, or that's nuts, or that's crazy, kind of like that. So another way, so if you could imagine, you say something, let's say it's true, but it sounds kind of, nuts, right? So, it's not something people are outright comfortable with. So let's say that. So a person's not outright comfortable with the information you're presenting. So then the information you're presenting elicits a negative emotion in the person. And then that negative emotion in the person causes them to disagree with the information that you're presenting. That's one of the main reasons why it's impossible to argue or debate with a woman if you're actually right. Is because here's the funny thing, you can actually win an argument, but here's the difficulty. If you're talking about an emotional person or a woman, and in this case we're talking about a woman, the information you're presenting has to elicit a positive feeling. If it doesn't elicit a positive feeling, then she's going to use her intuition, and her intuition will tell her that what you're saying is wrong because her emotions will be negative. That's a thought. That's just a thought there. So to go slightly further with that, so follow the pathway. So you say something, harsh truth. Harsh truth enters the woman's mind. It's processed intuitively. The right hemisphere looks at the information you're saying and goes, okay, is it novel? No, it's not novel. Okay, it's bad. Okay, is it? Let me look at this to say the rest. So, sharing screen. All right, so you share the information with the woman. She processes it through her intuitive thought, her holistic perception. So you say it to her mind. Say you say a harsh truth like men are attracted to, or women are attracted to dominance in men, or you can say competence. Either one. In a lot of ways, they're interchangeable. Let's say you say that, so she's going to process it through her intuitive thought, her holistic perception, random sequencing, emotional thought, nonverbal, adventurous, impulsive, creative writing, art, imagination, left field vision, left side, motor skills. So she's going to process it through a lot of that. And if you could guess and assume, that kind of line of saying or that kind of line of speech only works with the left brain. The kind of line that would work with the right brain, I'm assuming, would be things like questions, open-ended questions. Specific questions would probably work better with the left brain, the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere, uh, using specific generalizations, especially if they're very controversial, will be processed through emotions and holistic perception. So if the perception of the person, so the average woman is kind of raised to believe that feminism is the way, um, men and women are equals. Pretty much every modern trend thought you can think of. Um, so the issue with that and their processing and all the messages they're fed is that when you say things like women are attracted to dominance, and the man is saying that, like, that, this is just an example of a debate topic to say to a woman. So saying that, um, the response you would get back, um, so the difficulty there would be that they're processing, uh, they're using holistic perception. So if their perception of the world is different than the man's, then that would be a very difficult topic to have, which is kind of interesting. Because so basically, if the woman isn't interested in the topic you have and she doesn't have the same opinions as you, then it's impossible to win that argument conversation. So that's a shout out to Red Pill Mike, because he pretty much deduced that, and I'm kind of just picking up on his tail end. So I've kind of said a lot there, honestly. Anyways, there's a video I wanted to play. It's I think China bans feminism. That's a big one, so I want to talk about that, and then we'll go from there. It looks like this is going to be a short stream, and let's see what happens. Matter of fact, I'm gonna try something as well. See if I can get someone to join. Oh, she commented like 55 minutes ago. Yeah. I'll send a picture. Man, this is going pretty well. Surprisingly. All right. By the way, I forgot to give info on what happened. So I went to the I think it's called Rolling Thunder Down Under or something like that. It was in Dallas, Texas. It was an event set up by the Patriot Street Fighter. It was pretty cool, by the way. So yeah, that was pretty fun. It was a really cool political event. I got a lot of connections. A lot of stuff happened. So yeah, that was it was just super dope. I kind of want to check to make sure I got all the information from the people I wanted to get information from. Probably got like 2 or 3 different cards. Hoping I got the lady's information to do a live stream. There's a lady that is planning on doing a live stream. If I could actually do it tomorrow, but it would depend on if I actually got her information. Checking. Oh, no, that's not it. 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 I don't think I got her info. She got my number. Whoops. I think I forgot to do something. I'm going to have to spread these out because it's gaping everything. Y'all bear with me for a second. Hopefully she called. Let me see. I don't know what the hell happened. All right, it's super windy. I'm going to go a little bit further with the stuff I was saying earlier. So actually, I said I was going to go into the China bans feminist suddenly anti-censorship thing, so I'll go into that. Let me see if I got some initial thoughts, some other thoughts. About the debating thing. Just as an initial thought, debating a woman, it's very difficult. That's the thing. Generally speaking, it's not really worth the effort. I mean, in the same way that if you're debating a guy who was too, let's say you're debating a guy who's right hemisphere dominant about something that's very objective. Now, if you're talking about debating someone on something that's subjective, that's a different story. I wouldn't really call that a debate. I would just call that a conversation. Really, you're not trying to win something because it doesn't have an objective focus. So that kind of situation would not be something that wouldn't be something that you could. It's not really something to worry about. You're just having fun. Anyways. Going for it. So, another idea. So, anyways, I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, if you're debating someone on something subjective, no, I'm saying this understanding that there are things that are subjective and there are things that are objective. Now, that being said, if you're debating subjective information, I think that's kind of silly. I guess you would be debating. I guess you could debate which subjective information is better, but that depends on that actually is person to person in terms of like if it actually is something that a person wants to adhere to. Anyways, objective information. So debating objective information. The thing with that is that there's no room for subjective understanding or interpretation or empathy or any of that. With debating objectively, you're trying to get down to the special sauce. You're getting down to the nitty gritty, and in order to do that, you kind of have to You have to sacrifice pretty much all. You have to sacrifice a large amount of emotion in order to derive logically consistent answers. So for lack of a better word, you could say someone, the average woman would be very subjective in her line of thinking. Her thinking would be based off of how she feels and the information that she's presented with on a daily basis. So if you have a logical argument or debate with a woman, you have a logical debate. Now, I don't think you can really have a logical argument. Argument, in my opinion, it sounds like you're coming from a person who's in an argument, whether you're on a receiving end or the giver, the receiver or the giver. So there's a good chance you're going to have a very it's probably going to be very emotionally charged, meaning you're not going to be able to be very objective. So it's not going to be very constructive objectively. Is my first thought. All right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and go into a video because I'm talking a lot again. So I'm going to go into the video on Chinese feminism, I believe, or China banning feminism.
China is showing us exactly how to deal with feminism. China deleting feminists from social media amid birth rate collapse. So here in the West, birth rates are pretty much non-existent outside of immigrants, and the government keeps empowering the cause of this. In China, they see a little bit of slippage and they're like, no, we let you have your fun, we let you play your games, but you need to shut up now. The Chinese Communist Party internet censors have allegedly deleted dozens of social media accounts belonging to Chinese women's rights groups ahead of the release of China's latest 10-year census, expected to show a sharp decline in birth rates for the fourth consecutive year. I just wonder how all those feminists who keep trying to get us censored are going to react. It's like, no, yeah, we want censorship, but we just want other people censored, not us. In recent days, more than a dozen accounts used by women's rights groups were deleted from the Weibo social media platform, as well as cultural discussion site Douban.com, the Wall Street Journal reported on April 19th. So they haven't hit Twitter and Facebook yet, but watch what happens when the Chinese government tells the Western corpos that can't stop virtue signaling about more human rights in the U.S., while ignoring them in China. Remember, not a peep about Hong Kong, but they're all on board with burn, loot, murder. You know damn well if they told Twitter and Facebook to start taking things down even outside the country, they would. Now, from what I know, I think both of them may be banned within China, but if Chinese users are using them outside of China, oh, you know damn well that they're going to.
I'll learn from my mistakes. I'm not playing the same thing over completely. I'll wait a little bit. I'm gonna check something real quick. I'll check back in a second. It depends. I don't know how long I can stand. As long as the battery is. Yeah, so by the way, there's going to be maybe a 10, 15 minute gap. It'll be a 10, 15 minute break between the beginning of this and the rest of this. So by the way, whenever there's a long pause, like a really long, like anything longer than 5 minutes, I'll make sure I give anyone in the chat a message and then give them a range from the time I'll be gone. But I'm just having to flip flop from place to place to get things established, for lack of a better word. Anyways, good thing people are wearing face masks. I'm gonna play the rest of the video.
Going to cooperate and take care of them. So Weibo is a Chinese microblogging website often referred to as Chinese Twitter. It is one of China's most popular social media platforms. Douban is another popular Chinese social networking service. Both Weibo and Douban, much like the Chinese internet, are heavily censored by CCP authorities. Oh, so it's kind of like our internet here in the West, except it's big tech doing the censorship instead of the government. But in general, we get the same result, though. The deletions came as China awaits the results of a once-in-a-decade census, which has been expected by early April, but have yet to be released. They're probably trying to manipulate the numbers a bit before putting it out. Demographers expect the data to show a sharp drop in births in current year -1, the fourth straight decline following a brief rise in current year -5, and the first year after the one-child policy was lifted, a Wall Street Journal reported. What are they afraid of? One Chinese social media user allegedly wrote in the wake of the mass deletions, according to the newspaper. Are they afraid of more whammons waking up? Are they panicking seeing the fertility rates and marriage rates? It's not about whammons waking up. It's stopping them from falling for the feminist brainwashing. I know I'm sounding like I'm beating the same drum. I'm beating the dead horse over and over again. I'm a broken record. But if you want to see the final destination of feminism, look up Sinead O'Connor's social media meltdown from a few years back. If you're a feminist, that's your future. That's a future that they're trying to save women from. And yes, also completely selfishly, they're trying to save their own pay pigs, because governments, especially in current year, when entire economies are structured to only work if they keep growing, if they start shrinking or if they fail to grow fast enough, like that's even worse. Even failing to grow fast enough will take all these economies down to their knees. So governments need wage slaves. They actually couldn't care less about anybody. They just need their wage slaves. The Weibo officials issued a statement via their own verified Weibo account saying the microblogging site has recently removed some accounts because they were related to illegal or hurtful information, but did not provide further details. Is that so? Did not provide further details, huh? Does this sound familiar to any of you? Does it? To me, this sounds like exactly what we're dealing with here from big tech. They keep banning us, and they say we allegedly violated some rule or terms of service or cock or whatever. And then they never tell us exactly what we did. They didn't give us any specifics. So I know last time I got flagged, they just said, "Oh, you're being flagged for violation of this policy," which was just like some nebulous thing, like this one related to illegal.
Yeah. So by the way, this kind of happened to me. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think at this point it even matters what you do, because I think I got for my strike or my little warning or something. It was like, oh, you are the whatever it was saying it was like medical disinformation, but it was just a video on a guy walking into a convenience store, and he was talking to cops who were told to, escort him out, but then he was like, "This is my constitutional rights," like, and it was flagged as misinformation. So, yeah, medical misinformation. Go figure.
Or hurtful information. They say, "Oh, read up on our code of conduct to make sure this doesn't happen again." But they didn't tell me what it was I did. Man, when China takes over the internet in the West as well, and all these lunatics who've been censoring us get censored in the same way, I'm gonna laugh so hard. Yeah, I know. Everything you're complaining about is what we were complaining about a decade ago, but you claimed don't be such a horrible person and this won't happen to you. It's easy, right? So I'm waiting for you to show me. All you have to do is stop being such a horrible person. Why don't you show me how it's done, huh? A spokeswoman for China's National Statistics Bureau said Friday, April 16th briefing that the agency needed additional time on the census because there was more data to process than in previous ones they reported. That's a lie. They're just trying to find ways to maybe manipulate the numbers so they don't appear as bad as they are. Lu Pin, a Chinese activist based in New York, whose Weibo account was taken down, says that women's taking responsibility for the well-being of family members is like having free labor, according to the newspaper. Lu's comment provides some insight to the type of content the CCP censors reportedly targeted during the feminist account purge. China's declining birth rate is a subject of consternation for the ruling Communist Party, which in recent years has promoted the nuclear family as an ideal for young Chinese people to strive for. The message to marry and have children early comes after the CCP encouraged young people to do the opposite for decades under the rule of their founder, Mao Zedong. It remains illegal in most of China for couples to have more than 2 children today. This is another example of a failure of communism right there. They go, for decades, they push a horrible idea, and then they try to push the opposite after implementing changes to make the opposite a horrible idea too. You will never have population growth. You will never have an increase in marriages and childbirth if you also have feminism.
So that's pretty much the biggest message. You kind of said you'll never have child growth or an increase in the population. You don't get rid of feminism. It's pretty straightforward. No. By the way, just as a mission statement, let's say what my goal is, because everybody has a goal, and I think by stating your goal over and over and over again, you can get close to it. So my goal is to influence people who came out of the same woodworks as me. So the people who came out of single mother households. I thought there was like this or something. But the goal is to get the information out. Granted, of course, I would like to get big. It'd be awesome. But if I don't get big, at least I can get the info out. Also, I'd like to do collabs with people I'd like to have fun while also saying truthful things as well. Anyway, I'm gonna let the rest of it finish. But
fought back against feminism and also decided to tell their population to keep having more kids, they'd probably be up to like 3 billion people right now. Mao actively discouraged young women from marrying or having children during the early part of his rule as CCP chairman from 1949 to 1976, pushing for them to join the Chinese workforce instead. Wow, does this sound at all familiar? This is almost like what's happening to us right now in the West, huh? Yeah, you got all these feminists telling women like, man, fuck having a family. Yeah, go to work on your career. Enjoy that male privilege of working yourself to death in a thankless job. Doesn't that just sound so much better than staying at home and raising kids and just like cooking and cleaning? So much better. This anti-family propaganda, coupled with the later one-child policy meant to counter runaway population growth from 1979 to 2015, severely warped China's population and demographics. Yeah, that now we're getting to the good part. As families considered baby boys more popular, it's not a matter of popular, it's a matter of being useful as well. Millions of parents aborted baby girls or left them to die outside after their birth since they could only legally keep and raise one child. The result has been a severe lack of childbearing women in China alive today. And the women know this, by the way. Women understand. They know that they are very valuable in China right now. Very much so. Decades of the one-child policy mean that there are now simply fewer people of marriage age, Wall Street Journal noted Monday, adding that fewer Chinese marry every year. Well, this ties into what I just said. These women, they know that, they have their pick of the litter. Even the women who would be nowhere near the top of the desirability scale, they know they could get almost whatever guy they want. Because if you're a guy in China and you got a girlfriend, you're basically her bitch. Because she knows that if it doesn't work out with you, there's going to be 100 other guys clamoring for her attention the next day. And that's actually leading to a lot of men to, well, go MGTOW, basically. The number of people getting married for the first time dropped from 23.86 million in current year -8 to 13.99 million in current year -2. Damn! Yeah, China's state-run Global Times reported in December in current year -1, citing data from China's National Bureau of Statistics. The fall is largely due to the decline of newborn babies in the early 90s who have now come into marriage age. Demographer Zhou Haiwang, deputy director of the Institute of Population Development under the Shanghai Academy of Social Sciences, told the newspaper. Statistics show that China's birth rate fell from 21.06 to 17.12 newborns per 1,000 people from 1990 to 1995, the Global Times reported. Apart from the population issue, marriage itself is less attractive to young Chinese people. Young Chinese men today, as they are more independent, both financially and mentally, and more self-centered than previous generations, the CCP mouthpiece added. Guys are learning that they could be better, you know? I bet they have nice red light districts just like Japan. No reason to be some girl's bitch. Yeah. If all you want is to blow your load, there's ways to do it. Yeah, it's pretty much almost everywhere else in the world except for America. People are a lot less sexually frustrated because they don't have to live under the fucking boots of the Puritans.
Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and chilling, we have launched Blade Devil on
So, yeah, in that particular way, China's based. Just my initial thoughts. Back to the, is it possible to win an argument with the with a woman? My favorite conversation. So maybe I can pull up a video that talks about this in a funny way. I'm gonna try to see. All right. So Exhibit A. So watch this. This will be the Exhibit A. I'm going to have a video. It's going to give an example of an argument with a woman or a debate.
I think that we'll all agree that motherhood starts way beyond the biological event. And anyone, including men, can mother and play the role of a
Men,
mother.
father.
Piers, would you...
Women, mother. That's because the titles aren't male and female titles.
Okay, with respect, would you look into the face of a man that has just lost his wife and is really struggling to play the role of the mother and the father and say that to him?
Yeah.
So you're not a mother.
He's the father.
That child...
Well, you might be more sensitive in those circumstances.
You still call him
He's
a
playing
father.
the role of the mother
If
because...
that was me, I'd be a father. I wouldn't suddenly morph into a mother.
Again, with respect, to mother and to father are not gender specific.
They are gender specific.
No, they're not.
Why are we pretending
The
otherwise?
skills
Of course
to
they're
mother
gender
and to
specific.
father can be
Are
acquired.
you a woman?
Well, yes, I am a woman. Are
So-
you a man?
So can I suddenly say, you understand?
That should have been yeah, someone's loud car is over here. Anyway. Okay, thank you. Depending on whether that woman is arguing to get to the truth or arguing to avoid losing. The latter, you will lose entirely. Yeah, so it sounds like you're talking about if she's arguing for ego or not, and most of the time it's for ego. Yeah, that sucks. That means we're fucked. Most of that should depend on you. How many women do you know that argue for the truth, Emmanuel? I can't really count. I don't even know off the top of my head the women that believe in. I mean, I guess I could count GM, good mother maybe, but like I don't know any women. Like it seems like a rare thing to find. I'm gonna keep playing this if I can find it. I lost the theory.
Literally say, I am
a woman, but I'm also capable of the skills it takes to father a child. Similarly,
By the way, so I think she's making a categorical error. So let me redact that. So I think Piers, he's arguing for consistency, and he's arguing to keep things in a box, which is very logical and it's very left hemisphere dominant. She's using emotional reasoning. She thinks her argument is just as valid, but the justification for why it's just as valid is based off of the emotional need of the person that she's using in the context of the argument that she's making. So, for example, she said, so you heard the point she brought up. She personalized the information and made it about someone and made it emotional, like an emotional feel. So would you say to a guy who's struggling raising a daughter, you're not the mother? So she's trying to use language in order to make people feel better, and that's that maternal way of thinking is kind of why it's fairly like all but virtually impossible to actually debate a woman and win. It's also the reason why debating a woman to begin with is kind of pointless, unless you're just trying to see something happen, see them fly off the radar, fly off the rails just to have fun. I don't know. Yeah, use your best judgment with that. Anyways. I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to play this.
You are a man and you are capable of the skills to mother a child. I would hope. I'm not sure, though, because nurturing, caring, is that in your capabilities?
I brought up 4 kids
I would
very
hope
well,
so.
but they've always known who their dad is and who their mum.
See that small dig? Yeah, I mean, and ego can get the males too. I think it's just males are driven to competence. It's just a natural survival instinct for us. In a way, you could say our paternalism or our you have the maternal instinct, but then you have the paternal instinct. The paternal instinct drives for competence. The father instinct is to make their son or daughter competent at something. And that, we call that kind of thing, mentoring or showing someone how to do something correctly. We call that fathering. Not widely stated, but I just stated it, so let it be known.
Mummies, what's wrong with that?
But the skill to mother is something that a man can also do. You
Why?
can mother
So the
a
point
child.
is, Sonia, that you can do both of these jobs within the role of parent. Do we have to define mothers and fathers by their gender?
Sadly, we do now. If you'd have asked me 2 years ago, I would have probably been on Amy's side, actually. But now we've experienced the whole messing around with words and the categories, and certainly the taking of female titles. And you have to look at the origin of why that tweet came to be. And that tweet came to be because everybody thinks that they can suddenly put on woman face and be a woman. And it was interesting, very sexist tweet, incidentally, because later on they were advertising for a male writer, not somebody who identifies as male, but a male writer. So you can suddenly put on a dress and become a woman, but you can't do the same with a man. And men and fathers and mothers bring completely different skill sets to parenting.
And both genders are capable of both of those things.
Here's the problem.
Yeah, but
For example, breastfeeding.
Okay, so she's saying both genders are capable of the same thing. So she's pretty much just trying to, I would say she's poisoning the well. When I say poisoning the well, hopefully I'm using the right definition. So poisoning the well for me, I said for me. So you see, even people who are trying to be logical are capable of coming up with these kind of emotional feels like that. Oh, the idea of this for me. So I'm not. Poisoning the well, attempting to poison a well, type of information fallacy where adverse information about a target is preemptively presented to an audience with the intention of spreading. It doesn't look like this is the type of fallacy I'm talking about. This happens especially when the argument nails a particular shortcut. I'm gonna play it again and see what she says, because there's one thing she says where I'm kind of like, doesn't make sense.
So you can suddenly put on a dress and become a woman, but you can't do the same with a man. And men and fathers and mothers bring completely different skill sets.
Yes. So this lady understands where Piers is coming from, and she understands the importance of having the categories separated. Now watch what happens after she says what she says.
And both genders are capable of both of those.
So she's saying both genders are capable of both of those things. So here's the problem with that statement. So it pretty much minimizes. So what it ends up doing is you take very distinct roles, and you kind of you're kind of, it's basically like, in a way it's like the kid in the sandbox, and he's playing with people, or there's people in the sandbox playing, and let me see how I can say this. So you have you have a kid in the sandbox, and with another kid, or there's a couple of kids, and they're playing a game, and the kid loses the game, right? So the kid, when confronted by another kid about whether they lost or won, they end up saying, "Oh, well, it was just a tie." So I think that's kind of the mindset she's going at with. She's kind of attacking it with here. It's like if I can't do what they do, then I'm just gonna say we're all the same. It's a cop out. It's like a way of. It's a very egoic way of dealing with failure. So men parent differently than mothers, and if a mother parents differently than a man, that means they'd have different capacities. They'd have different capacities within that same category for each group. So the men wouldn't be able to mother as much as a mom, even though they would be able to utilize the same behaviors. They wouldn't be able to do it to the same degree, to the same proportions. Like, it wouldn't be as potent in terms of the maternal. But the guy, yeah, he could do things that are seen as traditionally or conventionally maternal, but he wouldn't be able to do it to the capacity that a mother would be able to do. Like the amount that a woman fawns over a baby dog, like a dog, for example, like a small dog. The amount that a woman fawns over a small baby. This is likely going to be very different than So I've said a lot, but just that on its own, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Here's the problem. A man can't, for example, breastfeed his kids, right?
This is irrelevant. The biology
well,
of that type of thing is
because he can
irrelevant.
pretend to be a mother all he likes, but he can't breastfeed his
No,
children.
motherhood.
So it's like, there are limitations to motherhood for
Motherhood
men.
isn't breastfeeding.
No, but hang on a moment.
It's part of it for
It
some
can
mothers.
be.
Is it intrinsically part of it? Is having a
can
womb
be.
motherhood?
So what's sad here is she knows full well that part of being a mother is being able to do things that men can't. And that includes, giving breast milk to babies. But you can kind of see she's asking them the question to see if they'll actually feed into her bullshit. Yeah.
Would you say to a woman that can't breastfeed that they're not a mother?
No.
Would you say that?
No, I'm
Feeding
just saying
your-
it's one of the many things that actually only a woman can do.
And it's really important we acknowledge it as well, because
But that's not mothering.
we only have to look at
That's not mothering.
Mothers are women. I hate to break it to you.
Okay,
I know we're not allowed to say this anymore, but it's an insult to every damn mother in the country.
reducing
That some of these
it.
blokes
You're
who come along and go,
reducing it.
I'm mummy. No, you're not.
You
You're not. You're
are.
daddy if you want to be daddy. You're not mummy.
If you look up in the dictionary to mother, the verb to mother is something that a man is capable of.
Capable of, Amy, but can I just point out,
Yes,
this
please.
is all about having a play, essentially about
Yes.
motherhood.
yes.
So at what point does everybody have a view on motherhood
Right.
apart from mothers?
They're not
Exactly.
gendered. A man can play the role of a mother and have the skills
Amy,
required
did
to be
you
a
just
mother.
actually say that? Listen to yourself.
Okay, please.
Here's the thing, right?
Mother is
It
not
would be,
gendered.
it would be a very different play.
Okay, here's
The
a
skills
dictionary,
to be a mother are not-
definition of mother.
You're going to say
A
the
woman
noun.
in relation to
And
her
now
child
read, and now read the verb.
or children.
And now
A
read the verb.
female parent.
If
A
you
mother
read
is
up
a
the verb,
female
go
If you
down.
read the verb definition, bring up a child with care and affection. However, it quotes, she didn't know how to mother my brother, he was very sensitive, right? She's mothered two foals if it's give birth to. It's all female.
Can I give an example?
Everything is female.
If I take you...
A mother is a
Here-
woman.
Sonia,
Here's-
I
What is
think,
happening in this
Amy, hang on a
country?
second.
Yeah.
Sonia,
I'll tell you.
I think,
Don't you both
Amy,
go
hang on a
nuts?
moment. Yeah, Amy, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Sonia, I think a lot of people will agree that
Yeah.
fathers can bring mother.
The sad thing is, this woman thinks she's actually breaking ground and saying something that's, that's actually important. But that's the thing. The men in the past, when they were, called sexist for not allowing women to speak and talk and stuff like that, we see what we get whenever we give them full liberty to be unaccountable for what they say. I don't think the issue is in a woman speaking and saying, and having an opinion. I think the issue is when she's not held accountable on an objective level. Now, what the difficulty there as well is that whenever she says something, so her objective, emotional, feely information that she's bringing into a topic, and when she's saying these things, she thinks it should be taken just as seriously as someone who's saying something logically, just because of how she's wired. So this often makes guys kind of like, oh my God, and it's important, by the way. It's a good thing that in my opinion, it's a good thing that she takes how she feels very serious. The only issue I see with it initially is the main issue initially is that all these Mustangs with loud pipes. So the initial issue is that if she's taking it serious, yeah, you can be like, hey, I see this as serious for you, but it's like at the end of the day, if she's saying something she believes, it's like a emotional belief, and there's something serious to her, and you lay down the wrath of God, like you lay down the hammer of Thor with logic. You're just like, bam. I don't know. I'm just being kind of funny here, but it's like, yeah, the men in the past didn't have the patience to hold women accountable, so they just told them to shut up in general. I think that's what happened, honestly. I'm not completely sure. And yeah, I know. I'm gonna wait till the truck shuts up. So, now granted, I know that there are men in the past who were negative and who were bad and who actually did treat women as if they were just objects. Thing is, it's kind of funny whenever women say things like, "Oh, you're objectifying me," or "You're treating me like an object." My male mind, you know what it actually thinks? It looks at the woman and it goes, "Well, you are an object." I know I'm an asshole, but I think the thing is, I think women don't want to be treated just as an object. They want to be treated as an important object, an emotional object, sexual object. Basically, you can add that object. You can even objectify a woman, in my opinion, but she wants to be other things to you as well. She wants an emotional connection as well. Anyways, hey Harley, who are you talking to? Nice to see you, by the way. You just said no. It's not how it's like. I don't know if you were talking to Emmanuel or if you were talking to me. Anyways, by the way, if y'all want to stay on, so I'm actually at a Starbucks and I'm probably a 10-minute bike ride away from my place. I'm gonna leave the stream up, but then I'll rejoin the stream after like 10 to 15 minutes. But I'll let y'all know before I leave, and I'll give you a time frame for how long I'm gonna be gone. It's kind of weird. You can actually leave your stream without ending the stream. I don't know what that is, but it's kind of cool, I guess. Anyways, so yeah, so the lady on the right, so what I was saying about the men in the past, which I think was important, is that the men of the past, they were very impatient. They weren't patient with women. It was their way or the highway, which women are attracted to you, and it does work. The issue is the resentment that comes up from women. So whenever those men would be in a position where they could entertain an argument with a woman, and they would just shut it down hard. Like, yeah, it probably gave her the tingles, but I guess whenever the woman felt bad or needed an excuse to get mad at the guy, that could have been the excuse. Like, you never listen to me is a common issue from someone who's following another person. Like if you're in a leader follower dynamic, the common issue is the leader who is charismatic and who's hard, but doesn't listen to their subordinates. And when I say subordinates, I just mean someone who chooses to follow the leader. I'm not saying someone who's beneath the person, just based off of who they are or something like that. Their personality stuff. But anyways, I'll go slightly further with that. So I think the men nowadays, so we've kind of gone towards two extremes. We've gone to, so in the past, men, we were too strict with women. We would say, shut up, don't speak, because we didn't have the patience to deal with them. But then you look at, because we just basically had to keep the wheels turning in the world. And we were busy, have way more testosterone. And then just, bam, just like that. So now you get to the point where today it's completely different. Today you got men who will entertain a conversation from a woman and who actually capitulate to a woman. So we had two extremes. You had the guys in the 1940s and 50s who literally told their wives, shut the fuck up. And their wives were like, oh God, I have to shut up. He told me to shut up. And she just shuts up. And it's almost like a miracle. Granted, this is a hard thing. Now, I think, when you contrast that to today, where it's like, guys, like if they told a woman to shut up, they'd actually fear the woman. Like they're actually afraid of their wife. Like it's like physically afraid. Like don't hurt me kind of. Now, I could attribute this to mothers raising their sons, because some moms, there's some moms that will actually abuse their sons physically or emotionally to the point where the son actually feels like he's in danger. So yeah, I think the balance is being able to bring that hammer, being able to bring that hammer of Thor down on a woman, but doing it while listening to her. So it's like you're listening, right? So you're listening to the woman, and you're just like, yeah, honey, I hear you. You just bring that hammer down, but you're not gloating. You're just bringing it down and be like, honey, you see this? This is the hammer. Now, granted, there are women. I will say that there are women. It is possible. It's a mythical rainbow, but it does happen. Women. There are some women who can be logical to a fault. Excuse me. So I was having a conversation with Red Pill Mike in one of GM's live streams, and he said, he said women, you can have a debate with them if it's a subject they're interested in, and if they agree with if they actually have the same opinion as you. So basically, anything that elicits negative emotions or contrary, so they're not good with, they can't handle information that doesn't support the bias that they come from. If it doesn't support their bias, then the information is probably automatically assumed as negative or combative. Yeah, there are men like this too, but the thing is, there are men like this too, but the problem is society, because I think there's a balance between the men in the past and they're shut up, and then the men of the current day and they're okay, honey, whatever you like, you can say stuff, you can have your opinion. The middle ground is, hey, honey, you can have your opinion, but I'm gonna bring down that hammer of Thor if you say something dumb, like logically, like yeah, subjectively, it's I want to understand your feelings. Absolutely, good mother, like so. Yeah, I mean, I've experienced it firsthand. That's why my channel is important. I mean, I haven't experienced physical abuse, but psychologically, I've pretty much seen it. I've gone through stuff that would probably turn a lot of guys, uh, pretty much strip all the masculinity straight out of them. But the importance of this stuff and why I'm spreading it is it's not hatred towards women. That's one of the things you'll notice when you argue with a woman. They'll say you're just, you say something they don't agree with, they'll assume, automatically, someone hurt you. Someone did something to you and it hurt you, and that's why you're saying these harsh truths. Yeah, so by the way, I'm reading your comment. Let's see. All the crazy feminist witchcraft tyrants need to be burned. Change my mind. I don't want to change your mind. Actually, I kind of agree. I'm out in public, so I think it's a natural thing I do. I'm naturally very vigilant when I'm out in public. Also, I kind of have to get close to the mic to speak so you guys can hear me, because there's a lot of cars out there. I'm actually going to head back to my place in a second, and I'll put a time range. I don't want to do it. With all the fail-safes they have in place, Emmanuel, I'm pretty sure they can navigate life. All the fail-safe women get. I mean, look at it this way, Emmanuel. Like, if you lived your life on recruit difficulty your entire life, you didn't have to earn your significance to other people. It was just handed to you. Wouldn't you kind of be kind of a shitty person starting out, honestly? If you didn't have to earn something that other people valued. So basically, if you weren't a man and you started as a woman, assuming you weren't the ugliest broad, no, even if you're a decent looking broad, just average, you're pretty much the talk of the town. All you got to do is get a Twitter and you're a celebrity. All you have to do is get a what? Get a Snapchat, you're a celebrity. Now that drug that women are getting nowadays with social media, that's that drug with social media, that's, it's kind of played out because everyone in this community and even everyone in general, even outside of this community, says that. But the issue with the social media drug is once it's taken away, if it goes away, you'll have a bunch of strung out addicts. They won't be able to go back to pre-1990s, pre-social media. Who, me? I'm saying I'm looking for women to make sure they aren't hearing me. Oh boy. That's an interesting theory. I don't think there's a woman around here though. There's a guy. I think there's like two guys on the side of here, and then it's pretty empty out here actually. I think you're seeing what you want to see. You're seeing what you want to see, good mother. I'm calling you out. I'm calling out your shit. I'm gonna play the rest of the clip.
mothering skills to
But
parenting.
they can bring nurturing.
Their fathers.
But if you are asking for
Yeah.
a play
Yes.
about motherhood,
Yeah.
derived from a woman's experience
Absolutely.
of mothering,
Absolutely.
then you may well want a mother to be
Absolutely.
involved
But
in
the thing
writing
is,
it.
let's be clear about this. This is beyond some idiot writing a job advert for a London theatre and trying to be PC. This is also infecting the British Medical Association. They had an internal memo where they wanted to rename expectant mothers as pregnant people. That's the world we're living in. We need to remember that babies come from women and fathers can be every bit as nurturing, but in a different way. Mothers and fathers have different skill sets. And absolutely, if it's a play about motherhood, it should absolutely be written by mothers.
You're
who
saying
have the
mothers
knowledge
and
and
fathers
experience.
have different skill sets.
Yes.
But men and women are both capable of those skill sets. So why
still doesn't-
limit them? Piers, are you a man?
Yes.
Right. You're a man.
I'm currently identified.
So, I realize you're just being funny, good mother. But by the way, so I think the fundamental issue, I think the lady, what I think she's getting wrong is that she's pretty much saying, okay, so a man runs, a woman can run, so why don't they run together? We separate men and women in sports for a reason, because they have different levels of abilities. And by putting the man and the woman in their respective category, it allows us to give a proper platform to each individual biological creature. So the same thing would be true for motherhood and fatherhood. So if motherhood is something, like if the traits of being a mother is something the mothers excel in beyond the man. So let's assume it's like a sport. The man tries to compete in motherhood, he's gonna lose. One thing, you can't produce natural milk. There are some men where it happens to, but generally speaking, the average man isn't going to be able to produce breast milk. So if he's competing with a woman and actually taking care of a young child, his child's probably going to grow up malnourished. The mom is also a little bit more in tune with the kid's emotions because of how she's wired. I think women actually have more mirror neurons than men, but that's a guess. I'm not completely sure, but that would mean that they actually have a certain level of social perception that could also factor in their ability to actually raise their ability to actually empathize with their child and actually on a deeper level nurture their children. So another thing, the survivability of a child is specifically tailored to a woman's body. You know, the baby having a good gut, that is all pretty much. Basically, if a baby isn't put next to a woman's anus, then the baby is not going to have good probiotics. They're not going to have a good gut. So you're going to have issues there. If the baby doesn't get breast milk from a mom who's willing and who's actually, doesn't have complications with, because I know some women have complications with breastfeeding, real complications. I'm not talking about fake complications, like, oh, it's saliva. I don't like how it feels or something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna play some.
As a man. At the moment, that's not illegal.
No, right,
but it will.
Oh, I see. Before I play it, I'm actually going to examine Absolutely, we would be very frustrated because nature told us, nature did not design us to stare at a whiny kid. Granted, it did design us to provide for the kid that going. And in fact, we actually have a very strong instinct to go and hump and get a job just to support that kid going. Wah, wah. But when we sit there and look at the kid, we're just like, because the kid's displaying emotion, right? So we're not designed to stay in emotion. We're designed to flee emotion. So you could almost say we're actually designed. The design of a man is actually to get away from emotional things and to be as logical as possible, because that ensures survival of the tribe and survival of the man. So in a way, we're actually averse to children. But together with women, it actually drives us closer to children. Granted, there is a togetherness. I mean, there is the paternal instinct, so don't say I'm saying men are designed to not like children. It's not what I'm saying. Got to look further into it. I'm going to look at some of these comments. Are we doing a test? Oh, perhaps she is doing a test. I just know the test's kind of funny. I'm late on reading these. You had a debate with Mike the other night. We didn't have the same opinion. I was blaming all women and he was blaming the men. I bet you guys were cordial and not going crazy on each other. Doing ad hominems left and right. Well, you got a tiny dick. Well, you got your face is ugly. Stuff like that. What else did you say? You said you look like you're hyper vigilant at the moment. You said situational awareness is not the same as hypervigilance. You're looking for women to make sure they're. Oh, are you testing? Are you testing the is it possible that women to argue with women hypothesis I stated earlier, good mother? I guess just as a thought, situational awareness and hypervigilance, the difference is probably just the extent that the person is aware. But that's just a thought. I'm just concerned with triggering you. I know how allergic you are to this. Men and women play different roles in childhood development. Men help with physical and mental development. Women help with emotional and social development. You know, I talked to a lady. By the way, good mother, I did go to the event. It was pretty cool. I got a whole bunch of different. So there's a lady. She does marriage counseling. Emmanuel. Oh, so there's a lady, a marriage counselor. She does marriage counseling and she does communications with men and women. And I got her info. Unfortunately, I forgot to get her email. So technically, she would have to call me if she wants to do a live stream. And I told her I would like to do a live. Well, I actually did an audio interview with her. I might put that up. YouTube might flag it. She actually started having heavy period bleeding, and she's postmenopausal after she was around someone who had the jab. And I got an audio interview with her explaining that situation and giving a little bit of her background. And it was a funny conversation because she told me she hates feminism and stuff like that. So I thought it would be a good conversation. Of course, I could also see that even though she said she hates feminism, she still doesn't want to give up certain liberties that women have gained in the current time. And she doesn't want to give up the current perception that women have in terms of their role with men, etc., etc. She was oddly supportive of traditional traditional women and living a conventional lifestyle. I thought that was really interesting. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and play the rest of this clip because it's hilarious. Maybe, I don't know. She was saying in the Bible, Ruth was a judge, and saying this other stuff. Oh, this lady in the Bible had authority and stuff like that. And like, okay, I mean, she's probably not going to want to date a guy who doesn't have authority. So she's probably going to, if she's a judge, she's going to have to find a guy who's a super judge. You know? She was saying, I think, yeah, it was a good event. I got a lot of info. I was hoping to see you there. I was kind of sad. I was like, oh man, GM's not here. But it was still, even with that letdown, GM, you let me down. That was not cool. Even with that, it was still a really good event. There were a lot of people there, pretty positive, happy people. There were a lot of connections being made. So you had people starting movements in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for, political movements to get active in politics. You have people, I think, dealing with school boards and local school boards and stuff like that. Is it starting to rain? It's not starting to rain, but it looks like it's gonna pop off in a second. Manual, all have simped. It's okay, man. Everyone is simped. Even the guys who are red pill, they simp sometimes. It's a hard habit to break. Oh, it's no problem. I think there's probably, it's just as fun, even if I didn't meet you in person, because I was really happy about it. But even if not, like, it's still really cool doing the live streams because I think I actually got a lot of connections, and there's this guy who wants to advertise his product on my channel too, and I got to meet him, and he was telling me some information regarding the military and what's going on, and what they're involved with. So I was pretty happy to hear all that and learn new information. Oh, they were also selling Hillary Clinton toilet paper, so there is that. Simping is not singing. Simping not singing.
As a man, at the moment, that's not illegal.
Right, so if I said during this debate, if I said Piers was a real father figure to me during that debate, if I said you were a father figure to me during this debate, or if I said you really mothered me through that debate.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I have a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old.
Does she think you're mummy or daddy?
He thinks I'm mummy and daddy.
How many times has he called you daddy? How many times has your son called you daddy?
Stereotype.
How many times has he called you
here's a
daddy?
brilliant example.
You just said you think
he
you're
buys me a Father's Day
He said, hi,
card.
daddy.
He buys me a Father's Day card
Has he
and
ever
says,
called you daddy?
you are a mum and a dad
Has he
to
ever
me.
called you daddy?
It's not about labels.
Yes or no? Has he ever called you
If he
daddy?
called me robot man, it's
So this is my impression. She's a single mom, and the reason why I can tell is because she said her son gives her a Father's Day card and says, "You're the mommy and the daddy." I actually have a video coming out regarding that. It's called "I'm the Mother and the Father," and I kind of go into my experience of living with a mom who has living with that kind of mentality and what it causes, the confusion it causes, the issues it causes. You know, I'll let that. I think I can probably edit that video and get it out tomorrow. Yeah, so you could kind of see it. So I think her ego, she wants to believe that she's enough for her kid, and she doesn't like that Chad came in, splashed, and then dashed. And I don't know. That's what I see. Well, it's good mother. He's not. It doesn't sound like your son is saying Happy Father's Day and that like this is your day. He's just saying Happy Father's Day. That doesn't sound wrong. But if your kid, if your son was like, Mom, you're my dad. It's like you were my dad where my dad couldn't be my dad, like that kind of thing. Even though the kid may mean well, he's kind of setting himself up to be like there's a lot of psychological issues that are being caused by that chain reaction that the kid is setting off. Like there has to be now. Here's the funny part. I did actually look over at a woman this particular time, so I don't know if Jim was talking to you when she was saying that, by the way. I think it might be close to raining. I'm not sure. My battery's at 31%, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it. So let's see. So if y'all can hear me, I'm gonna keep the stream open, and I'll return. I'll be back. We'll finish up at probably in another hour or two. I don't want to have 12-hour streams like that. I guess we could go on GM's. But yeah, I pretty much covered all I want to cover. There is one thing I was covering in the past. I was looking at a Google information regarding the. I'll show you. We don't know, Harley. We gotta learn from y'all. Y'all, your gift is children. It's your gift. Like we have to learn. We don't know. Y'all excel in that. So I'll show you. So on the topic. So the weather might be changing, so I'm gonna be very quick with this. I'm gonna cover this real quick, and I'm gonna try to get out of here. But I'll leave the stream open. Give me a second. So on the topic, we got. Now my hypervigilance is focused on the clouds to make sure I don't get rained on because I got a computer with me. Okay, so this is why for y'all that weren't here, this is why. So it's basically everyone. This is why it's bad to argue with a woman. So if you're a man, you're probably left hemisphere dominant. So you're analytical thought, detail-oriented perception, ordered sequencing, very important. So ordered sequencing versus here you have random sequencing versus ordered sequencing. So if the man says something and he's talking about something that's very ordered, that's going to conflict with that right hemisphere way of thinking. So then you got rational thought, planning, math, science, logic. And for this side, you got nonverbal, adventurous, impulsive, creative, holistic perception, intuitive thought. So intuitive thought, so the woman's going to be feeling into everything she thinks and everything she believes. So the difficulty of debating with someone who does that, especially if you add on the holistic perception, is that if your thoughts elicit negative emotions in that person, that woman in this case, then there's a good chance that her intuition is going to drive her into thinking that whatever you're believing is wrong. So even if it's logically right, it won't matter, because if it actually makes her feel bad, then she'll perceive it as incorrect, because her perception of the truth is pretty much her emotional compass. Does she feel good or bad about what's being said? What category is being brought up? So with the holistic perception, so you as a guy, if you're thinking very categorically on one particular thing at a time, and you're trying to argue one point at a time, the difficulty with that is with a holistic perception, a person who's a holistic thinker, it'll be difficult to actually focus on that particular thing and narrow that down and make it as logical as possible, because they're always going to be focused on the greater picture. They're going to be focused on basically everything, is what I'm saying, everything at once. So that diffuse awareness that women have is good for raising babies, but the difficulty is when you debate and argue with them, which I don't advise arguing with a woman, and I don't advise debating with a woman. If you're going to debate with a woman, she's got to have a track record. Anyway, all right. Now I am at the point of no return with the weather. I don't know where it's going. So okay, I could probably give you an opinion. GM, I don't know if you're gonna start a video, but if you start, or a stream, because I'm actually gonna be gone. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. So I'm actually gonna be gone for good mother. How do you get people to take over the stream? You said it's good advice. I don't remember what the hell I said. I don't even remember what the hell I said. I'm going to try to get someone to take over the stream real quick, because I have to head back to my place, and the clouds look like it's going to be a little rainy. It's like a 10-minute bike ride, 10 to 12 minutes. All I would need is someone just to take over and just have the conversation about the topic at hand. I'm gonna leave a link. Emmanuel, is somebody, before I do that, is someone willing to take over the stream just until I get back on? It will take like 20 minutes, because I have to ride back to my place. And GM private, send me if you know any info on how to do that. Please let me know. Kind of need to. Absolutely, that sounds good. I'm gonna give you a link. Start a new one. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I can do that. We'll change the topic if I do that. What's weird is I've done it before. I'm actually gonna try it. I want to see. I want to try it anyway, just to see what happens, because I don't want to stop the stream. Just come up, and here's the deal. So if it stops, half a minute is GM half a minute. Oh boy, these clouds, man, they're looking rough. They're scary. Ah! Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Good, nice to see you. So I am going to do a weird little balancing act. So you're going to take over for me. I trust you're not a hacker.
No.
You're going to guide the conversation for the next 15-ish, 20 minutes, and you're just going to discuss any topic you want.
Okay.
Any questions you have on using the tools, just ask GM. Also, if the stream suddenly just stops and just goes blam and just completely ends, that's not because of me. That's probably because it has a setting that turns it off. So if it turns it off, I'm gonna figure it out eventually, and I'm gonna start a new stream later on.
Okay.
But it'll be about 15. I'm gonna head out now, actually, on my bike, and I'll be back. All right, y'all, I'll be back.
How's it going, guys? Well, I guess I'm up here now. So, do we want to continue on this topic? We want to change topics? We want to ask some questions? How many kids do I want? I would like to have at least 2 to 3 kids. My boyfriend, on the other hand, like he really only wants one, but he mainly just wants a boy. He doesn't want any other kids, but I like having multiple children because of the situation. If something were to happen to that one child, we would kind of be screwed. So I like to have a couple more kids just to, in case if that situation comes up, our bloodline isn't totally cut. Do I have names picked out yet? So our son's name, my boyfriend has already picked that out, and he's naming him after his father, which is Arthur. For a daughter, I've debated between either Marlene or Jean. Jean is uh, a mix between my mother's and my father's name, middle name, and Marlene is the name of my sister, one of my older sisters. Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, because my mother's first name was Janine, and then my father's name was Eugene. So figured I would shorten it and just make it Jean. You guys got any other questions? I don't mind answering questions. Trying to keep my mic mute when I'm not talking because of background noise. So, how do your arguments go with your boyfriend? We honestly, we don't really argue at all about anything. Like if we have a issue, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it, but we don't ever argue about anything, which seems really weird to a lot of people, but I like it because I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like confrontation like that. I don't handle it very well. I tend to shut down in confrontation. So just being able to sit down and have a discussion about it instead of screaming and yelling at each other over it or calling each other names and stuff, like we don't like to do that. So we don't really have arguments. It's usually more just conversations about things, and we'll talk about like what the issue is and what our options are to fix it and come up with a plan and work on it. Yeah, like I don't really like I said, I don't like confrontation, and there's really no need to for all of the name calling and stuff if you have a disagreement about something. Because really, that's just kind of like, I see it more as a deflection instead of actually sitting down and expressing um, the reasoning behind your feelings and expressing why you see it from that point of view, and also listening to the other person's point of view about it and coming up with solutions to fix the problem rather than just complaining about it. Because if all you do is complain about the issue, but you don't do anything to fix the problem, then you're part of the problem. At least that's how I see it. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't. A lot of people, will just sit there and complain, but don't want to do anything about it. Yeah, I just wish more people, more people, um, thought and acted that way. And it's funny because, like, with my other relationships that I've had, I would get into arguments, especially with one of my exes. Like, it was really, really bad. Like, we would get to the point to where we were almost fist fighting each other. Like, it would get really, really bad. And in this relationship, we both know how to communicate with each other effectively. So we avoid that situation altogether. We're not really emotional when we have disagreements about things or discussions about certain issues. We try to keep our emotions out of it and instead try to look at it from a more logical standpoint, because I'm one of the few women that are kind of capable of doing that. Um, Although when it comes to certain personal things, it's kind of hard um, to suppress certain emotions about it, but I certainly try my best. At least try not to let them derail the conversation. Yeah, like we still want to be able to go to bed at night and sleep together. Um, we don't want to carry around that frustration and anger with us all day. It's just not healthy, and we have enough stress in our life to deal with other things, and putting unnecessary stress on one another just isn't going to help. Not only that, but you turn each other away from one another when you do those things. Men especially don't like that. That's one thing that I know, is that men don't like it when women are um, always too emotional and too resentful in after arguments. It just they don't want to deal with it. Yeah, I don't mind debating or negotiating either. I really like debating, and I feel like it's something more people need to do. Is that we need to have more debates on topics instead of arguments about topics, because arguing, like fighting over it, doesn't really get anywhere. But when you're able to actually sit down and have actual facts and use logic to define your reasoning for things and be able to express those in a mature way, that makes people actually want to listen to you and want to hear what you have to say. But if you're just sitting there, calling people names and you don't have anything to show or prove why you think the way that you do, then it just nobody wants to listen to you because now they just think you're full of it. Yeah, anger really isn't necessary, and I know sometimes people might get frustrated because maybe they have a hard time getting across what it is that they're thinking or trying to say. And, if you get frustrated, just take a minute to just, back away from it, pull yourself back together, and then step back in once you're more level headed again. Or if it's a situation where you just can't reason with that person, or if you just can't handle what's being said or done, then just walk away from it, because at the end of the day, like, you don't have to debate anyone. No one's making you do it. Like, so if you got to walk away, then just walk away. You could always come back to it later at a better time. Yeah, taking an L, which is it's hard. It's hard for everyone to admit that you're wrong or that, you lost. And it happens a lot in life, and it is certainly very frustrating to deal with. But it's just part of life. You can't win at everything. You can't. You got to be able to accept that. And if you lose, you just kind of, it's okay to be sad about it, but then you just got to pick your head back up and move on to something else, you know but if you sit there and cry over the fact that you lost all the time, and push that onto everyone else, people get annoyed and don't really want to listen to you. You start to become kind of like a vampire, essentially, when you're kind of dragging everyone else into your sorrows and into your misery. And people don't like vampires. They don't like dealing with especially emotional vampires. Those are the worst. I know his topic was about if you can win an argument against a woman. Um, Honestly, I would say no, for the fact that because of how men and women think and how we approach um, problems in different ways. Women approach it from an emotional aspect, while men approach it more from a logical aspect. And because we don't think the same way and we don't see it the same way, it's kind of like you're looking at two different issues. So you're kind of taking one problem, but you're looking at it from two different viewpoints. You're looking at it, women look at it from an emotional standpoint and men look at it from a logical standpoint. And when you get into an argument over those things, there's really no winning, and there's also really no solution, because unless you're able to look at the problem, the same problem the same way, then you're not really going to be able to come up with a solution to that problem, because you're not so much solving the problem, you're solving the point of view of which it's looked from. If that makes sense. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I'm kind of choppy at it, but I'm doing my best. I'm trying. As far as women or men being mothers, I totally disagree with men being able to be mothers. And it's just because of the fact that men and women play very different roles in childhood development. And understanding childhood development and how children develop as they grow, it's not quite what most people think it is. It can be very frustrating and confusing to deal with sometimes, unless you have that knowledge to know and understand what is actually going on, especially when they start to develop emotions. That gets really, really hard at that point, because when they start developing their emotions, they don't know how to control them. They don't know how to control them. They don't understand what the emotions are or why they're having those emotions. And during that time is typically when it's the hardest, because you have to kind of work through, why, the child is having those emotions, and also teaching the child about those emotions and why they're feeling that way, and teaching them how to manage those emotions, so they can, have good emotional management and understanding. It also helps a lot with psychological and mental development. So it's really, and there's a lot more to motherhood than just that, but I think the biggest aspect is just emotion. Um, it's important for a child to have good emotional development, from the moment that they're born, um, and even all the way through until they reach mature adulthood, because yeah, like it's a weird society that we live in, and it's not so much about who can give birth to the child, but if and how they're capable of raising the child, because men play a more physical and mental development. And when I say mental development, I'm saying, like, especially when it comes to like stress management and stuff, men tend to be better at that than women are, at least from what I know and understand. That's kind of why, when they come home, they um, tend to just relax and try to shut their mind off from stresses of the day. So when they come home, it's just them. They're not trying to bring home work with them. Excitement. Excitement is, it's a personal thing. People get excited about different things in certain situations. And, mental development and mental health, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into mental health. Your childhood plays a role in it. Um, your and even your physical well-being has a big role in it. So there's just a lot that goes into mental health. Traumas, psychological traumas that have happened. Um, whether it's being involved in an accident, losing a parent, being involved in a natural disaster. There's a lot that goes into mental health, and to me, it feels like mental health, especially here in the U.S., is not it's not taken as seriously as it should be, and it's a lot of it is very generalized and misdiagnosed and misunderstood. Um, and not only that, but like especially on like social media and stuff, it's kind of idolized. If you have a mental illness or a mental disability, people tend to gravitate towards that, which when it comes to mental illness, I don't think it's something that should be completely shamed, but I don't think it's something that needs to be idolized. If if you get my drift. Like it's not something we should be, idolizing and seeing as something that is ideal and should just be totally accepted, but it's not something that we should necessarily outwardly shame people for having, because a lot of mental illness is you can't control it. Um, you can't control if whether or not if you have a mental illness or not. What you can control is how you play into that mental illness and how it affects you from your day-to-day life, and how you can work around that and mitigate it and treat it. Um, some people do, will have conditions where they handle it very well and are able to know how to deal with and tolerate and manage it. And then there's a lot of people out there that just don't. So it's a complicated thing when it comes to mental illness. But if we totally neglect it, we see a lot of the situations that we have now, where you have um, people doing these outlandish and horrible things. And I'm not saying that because they have a mental illness, they shouldn't be held accountable for it. But I'm saying that, we need to look at this and say, if people with this mental illness are capable of doing these things, then maybe we should do better to kind of prevent it from escalating to this situation instead of waiting until it reaches this situation. Kind of like the post marital depression. Um, a lot of women who have it, a lot of the times it goes unseen or even misdiagnosed at times, and women who already previously have diagnosed mental issues are more likely to develop it. And if we know that if the mother is pregnant and she's expecting the child, and we know that she has a history of mental illness, then we know it's probably likely that this is a condition that she could develop. So they should take preemptive steps to help prevent it from hopefully reaching a severe point if she does develop it. Um, and women and mothers, they develop it at different stages. Sometimes it could be during the pregnancy. Sometimes it could be shortly after the child is born. Sometimes it could be, several months down the road before they begin to experience it. It happens at different times, but taking that preemptive action, and even if they don't have a history of mental illness, at least informing them and educating them on it, and telling them, these are, signs to look out for and stuff, and giving them resources to turn to in case that does develop. That would help prevent a lot of these, insane murder and suicidal situations that come out of it. We always wait until the tragedy happens instead of trying to prevent the tragedy in the first place. And that's one of our biggest issues, especially when it comes to mental illness. We're not taking the proactive steps to prevent them from escalating to a severe point, instead of taking actions to prevent it from getting to that point. It's always afterwards, unfortunately. And a lot of mental illnesses also go misdiagnosed, where they will, especially nowadays, they claim that a lot of children have ADHD and ADAD, and a lot of the times that's not even the case. It's not even what's going on. Um, and then of course they also have kind of like, the spectrum when it comes to mental illness. Some people's are more severe than others. It's the same. It's the same illness, but people are going through different stages of it. Some might be in a later, more severe stage. Some people might be in an early on stage of it. And of course, every person is unique, so everything affects everyone differently. Um, when it comes to health, it's more of an art than it is a science, because it's constantly evolving, constantly changing, and it's different for everybody. Um, there are some illnesses that may greatly affect someone and nearly kill them, while there's some that don't affect people at all. Like, with heart attacks, there are some people that have heart attacks, and unfortunately it kills them fairly quickly, whereas there are some people who are having heart attacks and have no idea that they're even having one. There's no pain, they're not having any symptoms, like they don't know that they are actually having one. So it affects everyone entirely different. And the same goes with when it comes to mental illness, and that it affects everyone quite differently. It's not going to affect everyone the same way. So that's why it's more of an art than it is a science. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, men, you can't win an argument with a woman unless the woman is able to approach it from a logical standpoint. Because if she's not able to do that, then you're not going to win. It's just, it is what it is. Which is unfortunate, but honestly, I don't know. I don't really see a use for men and women to argue in the first place, I guess. But as far as men being able to be mothers, men still play an important role when it comes to childhood development and raising a child in a stable household. But as far as playing motherly roles, no. Men and women are not equal in that. Hey, you're back. And you're
I'm
muted.
back. Yeah. I did it to myself. I'm back and I'm hungry, so I'm making a sandwich.
All right, that sounds good. I think I held it together.
You did pretty good.
I did my best.
We're kind of just chatting now. I pretty much covered everything, but I'd like to get, so if someone else comes on or just in the comment section, like your opinions on arguing with a woman, why you think it's a bad idea, why you think it's a good idea while I'm making a sandwich.
Well, I'm gonna jump off of here. I got a phone call I gotta make. But
No problem.
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
No problem.
What did Pseudo say? Let's say you won the argument. Tomorrow she come at you again, and then the next day and the next till she breaks you down. How do women deal with women being illogical? They don't. They don't deal with women being illogical. That's the reason why we're in this. If women dealt with women being illogical, then maybe we could get out of this situation, but they're not dealing really, in my opinion. I'm making a sandwich, but after the sandwich, I'm going to see if I can find another example of why not to argue with a woman in the YouTube sphere. Oh, come on, close. They're not dealing with it in realms where it's to the collective benefit of women to stay illogical, consistent. I don't know what you mean with that. Might have to unpack that a little more. Now what? Now I think I make 2 sandwiches instead of 1 sandwich. They love not knowing so they can get you to down it. They can get you to down it. To do it? You do mean to do it? They don't. Here's the thing. Women complain that no one takes them serious. and the the workforce and stuff like that, but they don't have an evolved instinct for competence. So they don't really they never really, most of them don't ever the reason why is they don't have to focus on being competent. So that's why they're not taken serious. Now if they spent their life trying to focus on competence, and that's a different story. And you do have women who do that. It's rare, but that's just one of those things that come up. I brought up because women complain that they're not taken serious. For example, in the workforce. If you want to be taken serious, you have to sacrifice aesthetics for competence, and that's a difficult thing. Women don't want to sacrifice their looks or that particular biological strategy for a man's. So until they decide to do that, it will be extremely difficult to see a woman as, or to take a woman seriously. I'm sure you've heard that. Emmanuel, I don't think they're going to be logical in that situation. That's a very interesting situation you pose. Now, what I do think will happen is you'll see them become more agreeable to each other. So they'll capitulate to each other. Basically, it's that behavior where you see the women smiling in each other's faces and then they backstab each other. I think that's probably what that'll cause. I think that's the strategy they'll go down. They won't become more logical because they're emotional. They'll just kind of become more agreeable to each other and, smile and wave. But then when the girl's not looking, just you stab her in the back or find her boyfriend and then, stuff like that. So you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm making a sandwich. By the way, don't expect anything too much because I haven't been known to do long streams. I absolutely can. I can actually use logic while doing it too. By the way, this kind of conversation it doesn't just go for women. If you meet a man who can't stay logically consistent and he's being emotional, you can't debate with that man. I think you're gonna run into more men you can have a debate with logically than with a woman though. But that you will meet a man who will have that same type of emotion, and you're gonna be annoyed. That has happened to me at times, and I don't even remember those men in particular. But some of them are in my family, believe it or not. Yes, I've done it. I've created the best sandwich in the world. I've done it.
Mm. Mm. Let's see if I can actually. In a second, I'm gonna pull up a video on the arguing thing and see if we can find an example of a female arguing with someone or having a debate and see where the differences lie. I don't know what happened there. Anyways, we're gonna try to find a video. A woman's arguing with the men. I'm gonna put something up. I'm gonna turn my curtains down and I'll play a video real quick. By the way, the stream will be ending fairly soon. The energy is kind of dying down, and that's perfectly fine. But I don't have much more to talk about. We've pretty much covered everything. Oh yeah, probably they might see that. So you don't. All right, I'm gonna play a video. There's one I found. It's probably gonna be super interesting. So you beta. Y'all probably know who this guy is. Slightly different topic than arguing. Actually, no. Never mind. It's a debate. Yes, it's on topic. Yes. Oh, so yes, it's on topic.
Do you look for men or a man who is like your father?
No.
No? Why not?
My father is a great guy. I have an incredible relationship with him. He's someone who I respect and admire and who has tenderness. And there are things that I know I go up against him. We've always sort of.
Can you give me a couple examples of things you did not like about your father that you would not want in a man that you were married to? Because a lot of women have that problem. They want a man who's like their father or not like their father.
Yeah, my dad is very similar to me, independent. And I think that is beautiful and wonderful. And within his independence, he has a hard time communicating. And he doesn't communicate as clearly as I would like him to with my mom.
Is your mother a difficult woman to live with for your father?
She can be tough.
Ah.
Yeah.
And your father doesn't know how to handle that at times?
I think that neither of them know how to handle each other at times. You know, they're both very, very strong-willed people.
You said that you were an independent, tough woman. What is that exactly?
That is someone who is very strong-minded and has a hard time folding under someone else's opinion.
So why would a man want to marry a woman like that? Because men look for women that are ready to be a wife, they want to be a mother, they understand the order of life and that the man is the head of the woman, and they don't want to have to be fighting this strong-willed woman.
Well, I would say that a man doesn't necessarily want to be the head of a woman.
You say he does not?
Does not.
Why
I would
not?
say that men and women are equal and different. And I might be the head in some ways, and he might be the head in some ways.
But that doesn't work.
I also am a provider.
That doesn't work because in any company, whether it's a family or friendships or vendorships, no software, I don't think, but there's always the president and the vice.
No, probably her. She just said, I also am the provider. That's crazy.
Vice president, and the woman is the vice president in a family. And so if you don't have the president guiding the vice president and the children, it's not going to work.
I feel like it's a partnership. So
But men don't see it that way, though.
Many men do see it that way. And it's not, there is that mentality and there is that type of man who doesn't see it that way. And I wouldn't say that is across the board. I'm a born and bred West Angelino. I'm from Los Angeles. My dad is from Los Angeles. The mentality here is, I feel, a little bit more forward thinking, with the woman being more of a partner.
But that's never going to work, though. That's why a lot of relationships are not working, because they are partners, which is a bad word, by the way, because partners came from the radical homosexuals. They want to pretend that they're married, and so they want us to accept it, so they use the word partner. So I hear a lot of men and women using that word, partner, but it's not going to work unless you do it the right way. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say that the reason why marriages are failing is not because of partnership, it's because of lack of communication. And being very clear on what you feel, what you need, and communicating your needs on both ends. So there's too much assumption. There's too much, well, this is my role.
So you see how she's saying there's too much, she's saying there's too much, hopefully there's too, like, we need more communication. So that, I think I've realized that might be actually a female need or desire she's projecting, saying that if we could communicate and could understand each other better, then things would happen, things would flow better. There's a degree of truth to it, but then there's also, so she's about to criticize the male side of thinking in favor of the female side of thinking, which is if we could communicate better or more, then things will get better. It'll just happen. No. It doesn't matter how much you communicate. If you don't set the desired, if you don't set the needed actions after having communicated, if you don't make the proper adjustments, all that communication will be for nothing. But it's like if you signal that you're gonna make a left turn, but you just keep driving straight, unless you actually make that left turn, it's not gonna matter. And if you don't do it properly as well, that's another thing. So the male need you'll see is competence and understanding specific roles, because we kind of we're designed to know where we fit in and to go to that place and actually be useful. Because if we weren't useful, then we probably got kicked out of the tribe. Yeah. So I'm gonna let it continue. Understand this about GM pseudo and just women in general. When they start streams and when they do stuff on YouTube, it's just I don't know what it is with femininity or just with women, but they tend to be able to get more views and more people to come to their platforms. That I think that's just how it is. The guys tend to have to work a little bit harder and pick up the slack in order to get people to come to their platforms, no matter what they're talking about, because this is an important issue. But it is what it is. You know, I take it how it comes. I don't necessarily need more guests or less guests. It's just this is just a message, and I'm getting it out. If someone listens, cool. If they don't, cool.
That's what I'm going to do, and you just have to deal with it instead of this is how I'm feeling. And
right way. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say that the reason why marriages are failing is not because of partnership, it's because of lack of communication.
Really?
And being very clear on what you feel, what you need, and communicating your needs on both ends. So there's too much assumption. There's too much, well, this is my role and that's what I'm going to do, and you just have to deal with it, instead of this is how I'm feeling and this is what I would like your role to be, and you're really great at this role and I'm really great at this role, and let's figure out how we can meld.
I know what's wrong right now.
Oh no.
Men don't feel like being a man is a role. They're not playing a role. I think women think that that's what they're doing. Men are naturally doing what they do. It's in their nature to lead, to be the president, to protect their families, to provide for the families. And I think women think that the men are playing a role because women try to be that way too. And in order for a woman to be like a man, she has to play a role. But men are not playing a role. That's who they are.
Well, no.
Oh my God, yeah. He kind of just went in. He went in pretty. He brought. So y'all remember how I said you bring that hammer of Thor? You see how he was kind of used the understanding. He's like, I see what you're saying. He showed understanding, but then he brought that hammer of Thor, man. Like he brought that stuff down. Y'all saw it. Pseudo. So all I was saying is just that it's easier for them to collect views and a larger following for females. It just is what it is.
To protect their families, to provide for the families. And I think women think that the men Men are playing a role because women try to be that way too. And in order for a woman to be like a man, she has to play a role. But men are not playing a role. That's who they are.
Well, no, because men, they do have the inclination and desire to lead, yes. And they do want to be the provider.
We're not equals to, though. That's bullshit. So you kind of see. Oh, you said yeah, we are equal. I don't know what you mean by that, but oh yeah, it does that. I don't know how to fix that volume thing. I don't know. I honestly don't know how to fix that completely. You probably just heard she said yes, men have those instincts and stuff. So she admits what he says, but then she's probably gonna double back on something else. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna start it over because I'm kind of giddy with her saying this stuff. So you'll see she's saying when she's saying if we could communicate better, then things would go better. That's a feminine. I believe that's a feminine modality. Because the men, what they're thinking is if we could function in a more logical step with what we should do, then things will go better. So we're kind of attacking the things we're attacking the issues in the way we know best. She's attacking it from a feminine perspective. I'm not saying it's wrong because communication is important, but it has to be coupled in with understanding the logical aspect of things too.
President to protect their families, to provide for the families. And I think women think that the men are playing a role because women try to be that way too. And in order for a woman to be like a man, she has to play a role. But men are not playing a role. That's who they are.
Well, no, because men, they do have.
I wanted to address what you said. I think it's absolutely right. Um, You said she believes all couples have to do is make rules with feelings and follow them. Yeah, it's retarded because you can't make rules with feelings because they change. They change on it at the dot. They change constantly. That's where she kind of misunderstands. She's thinking that men should lead or have a relationship like a woman. A woman's not gonna like that. Neither is the man.
Have the inclination and desire to lead, yes. And they do want to be the provider in that caveman style, definitely. And there are also women who want to lead and are very capable of leading and can lead and do it as successfully and sometimes many times more successfully than a man. She just does it differently. We have different men and women, as I said, we are equal. We're just different.
In what way are men and women different? I know emotionally, women are emotional, men are not. Men are natural born leaders, women are not. What ways do you see men and women as being different?
I wouldn't create those firm lines between women are emotional, men are not. And I think that in saying that, it's actually continuing to create those gender lines. Men can be emotional creatures. They are trained not to be. They are trained to not voice their feelings, to not voice their emotions. I know as a mother of a 2-year-old, I see my son being a very emotional person.
Wow.
I see him
But
as
men who emotional are weak men.
that is
And
not
women don't like weak men like that.
Oh shit. Oh boy, yeah, she's gonna raise a bitch. I can already see it. I can already see that's what she's gonna do. Every time her kid shows any type of masculinity, she's gonna be like, I gotta kill that.
That because it's like being with another woman.
Yeah,
And so
totally disagree with you.
You know
My
why?
son is not in any capacity a weak man.
But if
At
he's
2 years
emotional-
old, he is anything but a weak man.
But that's abnormal for him to be
Not
emotional
at all.
at 2.
It's just not trained to be something different. He is. Children are who they are energetically. They are loved. They are kind. They are understanding. They are learning. We treat them and train them to be very certain types of people and put them in a specific lane. I have dated men who are non-emotional and just always on their critical head, and I've also worked with a lot of men who are that, and they so crave to be able to just drop their shoulders sometimes and be.
That's amazing.
And feel and say, you know what? I had a really hard day today, and I'd like to have someone who can be there for me. We all
But you would
need
not want a
that.
man like that, would you?
Absolutely, I
You want a
would.
man that would want you to be there for him because he has such a hard day. Life is so rough. And
I
you need
wouldn't
to be
want
there
that
for
to
him.
be who he is. Everything is always bummer. Everything is always hard. And he
I didn't notice her tone. I guess I have to keep watching.
you wouldn't want to be with a woman who everything was
Right.
always hard. That's just not an energy that anyone wants.
You destroyed her, man. This dude's the goat for this energy. Let me see if I can find it. You're gonna have to ignore that sound, by the way. I think it just, I think it needs, it either might need to be replaced, the fan, or it needs to be dusted. It needs to get dust taken out of it. It's fine. I can show you a video without you hearing that sound.
Are you a feminist?
I am a feminist, and that
Are
I
you
believe,
a good one or a bad one?
Well, I believe that women are equal and different. So in that, I am a feminist.
So
Yes.
are you one of those man-hating feminists?
Absolutely not. I love men. I am a big man lover.
That's
I
right.
honor men. I think that men are essential and amazing. And I'm also the type of feminist who believes that I can be a sexy woman
Right.
and also be a strong woman. I can wear a pink dress and
Yes.
feel sexy and
But most of them are not like that. They're like man-hating women.
that's
Let-
not true.
Let me
It's
tell
a
you this.
segment of feminists who are like that. They hate me.
Yeah,
because,
I bet, yeah.
because I show up, because I put effort into my looks, because it makes me feel good, and I
Yeah.
like being a feminine woman.
Let
That
me
makes
let
me
me say
feel
this to
good.
you. One of the reasons that men are not liking women very much at this point is that the courts are against them. So whenever there are divorces, the children are taken away from them. The women can go in court and just shed a tear and lie,
Mhm.
and the judges turn the kids over to them. These women tend to take the men money. They take their homes. They destroy the men, and most of the time they are lying.
Mhm.
And so these men are like, you know what? Forget it. I'm not going to start a family with these women. I'm not going to get married because I end up losing everything.
Yeah, and I guess women could go and do the same thing and say, well, I was with a man who tried to put me down and was mean to me and was abusive to me and cheated on me and was mean to the kids, and I saw what he did. And so we could go and go up against each other, sure.
But the
go
court
and go
would
up
still
against each
give the
other all
kid, if
day.
she went in and said that about the man, she would still end up with the kids and the money.
So I've been married and divorced twice. I took not a dime.
She said twice. You heard it. The fan tends to come on while it's charging, but then when it's not charging, it goes away. So I'm guessing it reaches a certain temperature whenever it's charging the battery. And when it senses it's at a certain temperature, it probably comes on. That's probably true.
Right, but they're
from
not
either
like you.
person.
They're not like you. These are man-hating women.
Yeah, and there are women hating men. You know, I mean, there are people in every
I mean,
sector.
they are women-hating men. They're not like you.
I know,
They're
but there are
women-hating
women
men.
hating men and there are men hating women.
Let me-
And that's the thing that's difficult. It's so easy to just brushstroke and
But
say
you gotta
all
admit,
women
though,
are this.
women hate men more than you'll find more women hating men than you will find men hating women.
I disagree, and
You
I
do?
guess yes, I do. And
Why?
and a
I'm
lot
surprised
of
at
that is
that.
a lot of that is, I mean, I'll just see on my own YouTube videos. I'm a single mom. Does that mean that I'm a parasite? Am I looking for a guy to latch onto and take all of his money? No. I make all of my own money. I support my family. I'm not interested in latching onto a guy and giving him my kid. I'm not looking for a man
So
to
let me
become
ask
the
you-
father of my child. My child has a father.
If you found that right man, the one you like, you look the way you look, he has a good career going on, he can provide He's the type of man you want. And he says to you, you know, let's get married. You're like, yes, honey, I love you. Let's do it. And he said, well, I want you to give up your career and be a wife and be a mother. Let's start a family. Would you do it?
No.
You would not do it.
If someone says, I want you to do this and this is what you have to do, no. I was in a relationship with a man who was very, very
I have boutique
and he gave me absolutely anything money could buy, everything. And I was very much owned and my career was not okay.
But this guy's not going to own you. He's a real man. Would you be willing to give it up?
I would still want to. The reason why he would be attracted to me in the first place is because of who I am and the wholeness of who I am. And part of who I am is what I bring to the table and the conversations that we're able to have. And part of the conversations that we're able to have is my experiences in life as a coach and going on TV shows and being on the radio and doing all of these things. I come as a full total package. I am a complete woman.
But now you need to give that up and become a wife and a mother.
I can be a wife and a mother and still own my identity. And the last thing that a man really would want from a woman is for her to give up who she is.
Why marry a woman?
To be what he wants her to
be. Why should a man marry a woman who is unwilling to let that part of the world go and become a good wife and mother? Why? What's the purpose of marrying a woman like that?
You can be a good wife and mother and still have your own identity. And he fell for her and was attracted to her because of who she was, not about because, oh, I think that you're pretty and you can be a good, well-behaved girl and be a good mama to the babies and be a good wife.
Your YouTube titles are, some of them, number one, the sexiest trait that attracts a man and make him need more. Better sex, quickies, kissing, licking, touching,
the
a foreplay how to guide.
Yeah.
What do you mean by kissing, licking?
You know, it's kissing
and touching.
I have.
Do you
clients,
really mean licking?
Yeah.
Licking?
Well, just using your mouth, doing oral sex.
Really?
Yeah. People don't know how to do it, and they are afraid because they don't know how. I have clients who come to me; they're afraid they don't know how to kiss.
7 reasons you should masturbate.
Yeah.
Amazing. And the last one is the penis. Penises.
Does size or shape matter?
Does size or shape matter?
No. The reason why I did the penis does size or shape matter, and that's a video that I think has 3.1 million views, is because I was sick of hearing men be mean to other men because of the size of their penis.
No comment. Gonna probably do one more video review and that's probably it.
Welcome to the Fallen State. I'm Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you so much for being with me. I absolutely appreciate it. Today, more young people in our country are becoming atheists. I want to know why. I have with me Jacqueline Glenn. She is a major voice for atheism on YouTube. Her channel is extremely popular. Even Richard Dawkins is a fan. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You don't look like an atheist. How did that happen to you? Are you a feminist?
I am a feminist, and that
Are you a good one or a bad one?
Well, I believe that women are equal and different. So in that, I am a feminist.
So are you?
Yes.
Are you one of those man-hating feminists? Are you married?
Nope.
Have you ever been married?
I have not.
Do you want to be married?
I used to.
Do you want to now?
I want to be in a long-term relationship.
Does that mean include marriage?
That doesn't
marriage?
necessarily include marriage.
So you want to be with a man, but not married to him?
It depends on his concept of marriage. I'm a rarity, and I realize that I'm a rarity in terms of coming from a two-parent household and understanding and seeing the value. So I look for implants from some country town where they know the value of families.
Would you change your title?
If I got married, I would become the wife.
Right. And would you stay home?
No.
You would not stay home?
No.
You would let your kids suffer?
I wouldn't have any kids. I don't have any kids.
Would you have kids if you got married?
No.
You would not?
No.
Well, there's no need to get married then.
You asked me the question. I told you I don't want to get married.
So you don't want kids?
I'm not right now, no.
Is someone dated? Have you ever dated?
Don't I look like I've dated? Yes. I'm none.
I'm sorry?
I'm not a nun. Of course I've dated.
And so are you a difficult person to
No, I'm
date?
not a difficult person. No, I don't think I'm difficult at all.
You're not
I think I bring up a lot of value to the table.
With the men who have dated you, think that you're difficult?
No, I think so.
She's already difficult to talk. You can kind of notice.
Some of the men who date independent, successful.
Oh, that word.
Wait.
There's that word.
Wait a second.
Whenever a woman says independent, that means she's difficult.
I'm not difficult. You didn't let me finish the question.
Go ahead.
And so you already have a perception of what it means to be
when a woman says I'm independent and strong.
Trust me, I am looking for the Clyde to my Bonnie. I believe in the power couple. That's all I've seen my entire life. But it depends on how he sees my role as a wife. If he sees me as a domestic goddess, then yeah, we're going to have a problem because that's not who I am. When you met me at the age that I am, I wasn't that. So if he has kids, great. I don't mind being the stepmom, but I'm not looking to, give birth now. I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't.
Do your father know you think this way?
Of course he knows I think that way.
He does know this?
Of course he knows.
And is he disappointed?
Of course. I mean, he wants to extend his legacy, but he has two other kids.
So does he regret sending you to school because the school messed you up like this?
No, school did not mess me up.
Who messed you up like this?
First of all, I don't think I messed up. First of all, but I think that I've had men who've, let me finish my question. Oh, yeah. So I look for my Jay-Z, and I'm just using that, figuratively.
Jay-Z.
Wait a second. Whoa. Slow your roll.
Not a good example.
Okay, I'm just talking about in terms of a power couple. Let me just say that.
Okay.
You want me to say Michelle and Obama? I'm looking for Obama. Okay. What's gonna make you feel warm and fuzzy? I'm trying to just make you understand.
You're naming all the weak men.
They're not anyway. So no, I am looking for a partner, right? Because I believe marriage is
another bad word.
Wait a second. If you look at, as an adult, I went back and I saw and I'm not sitting here to proclaim to be a Bible scholar, but I reread, Proverbs on the virtuous woman, right? And isn't that supposed to be God's ideal couple? So she was an entrepreneur. I mean, was not a domestic goddess. She woke up, she took care of the breakfast, she got the kids ready for school, and the housekeeper took care of the kids and did the domestic stuff. She went in the back, did her sewing, she went into the market and she sold it, and she brought her home the money back to her husband. He was a leader in the community. So she was not necessarily, the Bible doesn't depict the virtuous woman as a domestic goddess.
That's amazing what people do with the Bible. So let me ask.
This is how I read it.
So when you're like alone at night after you did your little power meetings and you went out.
Why is it power? It really was power. Why you gotta do it like that?
And you're alone at night.
I'm never alone at night. And I'm not saying that I always have somebody, but I don't necessarily have to have, I have a huge family. I am the second eldest of 80 first generation grandkids.
But you don't ever long for the love of a husband?
For a husband or for companionship are two different things.
But if it's not your husband, it's not real love. Do you long for the husband, the love of a husband?
Do I long for the love of a husband? Not necessarily a husband, and I don't long for, a man. The Bible said he who finds. So I'm not looking for anything. I'm waiting for him to find me, the right man. I only need one. So
you would live with a man and you would do the whole sex thing and everything without being married to him?
I could do that.
You would do that? Well, you're a Christian. How can you do that?
Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean you think I'm going to hell because I cohabitate with somebody that I'm not married to?
Nobody goes against what God will, as his daughter, what he would want you to do.
He does
Why
talk
would
about
you
marriage.
disobey your father?
I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but I would be open.
But you already have your mind made up. That's what you're looking for. You want a man, but you don't want to marry him.
Wait, you're putting words into my mouth.
But you would
tell me.
Yeah, I said nice.
Tell me what I want. What I want.
You want a man that you don't have to marry, and you want the sex.
And I said I was open to it. I said, but if his philosophy, if you're in alignment, if we equally yoked, and we're on the same page, and we have the same life philosophy as it relates to religion and business, and we complement each other, then yeah, you know what?
That's not a marriage.
That is a marriage. A marriage is a
marriage.
partnership. I don't need for somebody to raise me. You know, I need for somebody to help sustain my family legacy and to help build it.
I read that you have a child, right?
I do.
Is it a boy or girl?
I have a 2-year-old son.
Really?
Yeah.
And so you've been married before?
So I have been married and divorced twice. I was married
Really?
at 21 because my parents were married at 21 and they're happily married, and I wanted that fairy tale. I didn't do the work that I should have done in order to find out if this person was actually right for me long term. We were divorced within 6 months.
Wow.
And then I was remarried at 23 because I still wanted that fairy tale. He proposed within 3 months. Again, I didn't do the work. I didn't have the conversations. I didn't have the tools to really understand if this person was right for me. We were married for 3.5 years. And I've since been proposed to 7 times, so a total of 9 times.
7 times?
Yeah.
Why are they proposing? So many men are proposing to you.
I think because I present in a way that is, I mean, I don't know why they're proposing, but I can guess because I am confident and simultaneously I'm feminine, and I believe in gender roles, and I believe in lifting up my man, and simultaneously him lifting me up, and we can both be on pedestals holding hands in the middle. So my son came from a relationship that I was with. I was dating him. We were together for several months. We ended up realizing after needs-based conversations and being really clear with each other that we weren't working. We broke up, and then I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
So I've been a single mom from the moment that I found out that I was pregnant, and it's been a journey. It's definitely not my fairy tale.
Is the father of the child aware that he has a son?
Oh yeah, he has a
that?
relationship with him.
Good.
Absolutely. Yeah, my son's actually with him right now. So
good.
He's a good man. We just weren't a good fit.
Do you still want to be married?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I absolutely believe in marriage. I believe that you can have a healthy, happy relationship and marriage that is enduring and lifelong as long as you do the work. Because marriages do take effort,
right?
Especially with all of these other things coming in. Communication is so essential.
Yes.
And
What's this do the work stuff, man? Like, what does she mean specifically? That's
honesty as well.
Honest, absolutely, and owning, and honesty to yourself first, right? That's where the integrity comes in.
That's right.
Yeah, be honest with you. What do I need?
So let me ask: out of the 7 other men who was proposed to you, not one in there fit what you're looking for?
You know, it's what I realized was they were in many ways mirrors of who I was at the time. It was right after my second marriage. I wasn't in a healthy, complete, whole place. Men were coming in and thinking, I can complete her. And then after a while, I didn't like feeling like half a person who was completed by someone else.
Amazing. Are you a difficult woman to live with? to date and to live with, to marry?
No, I don't feel
You're
that
not
I
difficult?
am. No, I don't feel that I am.
Would the men say that you are?
I would think some men who don't have their own identity really intact would view me as difficult. I am, if you see my YouTube videos, I have a big personality.
Right.
I'm in your face. My clients, I'm tough with. I'm known for no games, no couching, no BS. Like, I'm push at you. Personally, though, I'm very different. I'm very tender and nurturing with my son. I'm very soft. In a relationship, I actually prefer my man to be the one who is out there and outspoken. I'm an introvert. And people don't believe that when they see who I am online, but that is a very specific side of me that I put out for public consumption because I've been hurt. And I've been hurt in relationships. And more than that, I've been hurt publicly. I've been hurt by when I put out a YouTube video and people just shred me for my opinion or who I am.
Yeah,
and I
happens.
had to make the decision to put out a very specific side. So when people are shredding Laurel, well, they're shredding that Laurel.
So you would say you're not difficult to live with?
I would say I'm not difficult to live with.
All right, I'm gonna do one more. This is gonna wrap it all up.
Let this be a disclaimer to the people, you know what I'm saying? The reality gurus do not discriminate against anybody, but anybody can catch them jokes. Don't get, if you're easily offended, don't come here, don't listen in. It's free range on any and everybody, but we respect any and everybody. We respect people. We human beings, men and women, relationships, when we come together. We know that women are different, men are different. But we're bringing this thing together as one. We're different. Understanding that we're different, we understand that men are meant to be the leaders. We're meant to be the leaders, specifically in a relationship. Are we saying that we never give a damn about your feelings, this, that, and the third? No. We care, especially in America. We've been taught to care.
By the way, this is a slightly different topic change, but I thought this would be an interesting video. I saw it and thought it would be interesting.
But historically, from what I've seen, maybe other people have seen different. We come from a lot of backgrounds where the man didn't give a fuck about the woman's opinion, and it was all about what was best for the tribe, the village, the area, or the family. So now the question becomes, since we have evolved into this space of the woman having a greater voice than ever before, and her voice really, it really mattering at the table. Women are saying, our voices have been suppressed for so long within the household. Our voice needs to be heard. Now we're in a space to where we're saying, you know what, hey, we're going to allow you to have that voice in the household. But my question becomes, does it create a conflict sometimes within the household? If I'm here to lead, if you're saying that you got me because you trust me to be a leader, to lead your life, to lead our lives. I know that you used to lead your own life. But when you put on that wedding ring, when you step to this altar, now you're saying that you trust me with your life. You trust me with our children's life. You trust me with the future of our family. But from time to time, you still want to overstep that boundary and overstep, my leadership ability, which starts to cause conflict from time to time. So that's ultimately the question that I'm asking,
When we go a little, if you want, before we go a little deep, give me an example of what you mean by overstepping. You know what I'm saying? Just so we clear, just so I'm clear, because again, I have an interest, I have another opinion on this topic. So.
Yeah, that lady, by the way, Emmanuel, she said a lot of stuff that I could unpack, but I just didn't feel like unpacking. So there's one thing she said where in the past, in the comments beforehand, she was saying she's confident and feminine, but then she kind of contradicted herself as well later after that. If you look. So the stuff they're talking about is slightly different. They're not actually talking about debating or anything, but I think it's kind of interesting, so I'm gonna watch it. This is gonna be the last thing I'm gonna watch, and this should be the end as well.
Like, what do you mean by overstep? Like, give me an example of how a woman would be overstepping? You know what I mean?
Well, if you're the type that you say, hey, with the decisions made for the house, I don't need your opinion at all. I don't need that. I got this. I'm used to running things my own, and I can make a better decision for us. Or even if you deem as a leader, you know what, my wife is indecisive. My wife is not as good of a decision maker as I am. If she were to make the decisions, this household wouldn't be functioning like it needs to. So I need to make those decisions. But she chooses to still overstep her boundaries, nevertheless, to try to weigh in on that. And let's say if you say, hey, you know what? All right, I'm going to give you the option to, give your opinion or to help out with the decisions. And she helps out with the decisions and things are starting to go left. If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, so like for me, I should tell like with my wife,
Yeah, that's kind of it. The last video was just something that I want to watch later. It doesn't have anything to do with the particular topic, so I'm going to wrap it up. Yeah, so is it possible to win an argument with a woman or with an emotional person? Up to you to interpret that. But I've covered a lot of videos. This was a fun topic. Oh man, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there could be a part 2. I'm gonna go ahead and end it. We'll see where that goes. Anyway, see y'all.